Hey guys, this is Ned again. It's been a while with another video for Clash Royale. It's been 3 weeks since my last video. I apologize for how long it's been. Um, I watch a lot of YouTubers, at least I used to when I had a little bit more time. And one of the things I always hated is when they weren't consistent. It's a little bit more forgiving, when someone's got a ton of viewers. Maybe it's less forgiving then because there's more people. But anyways, I've been super busy lately. I work 70 to 80 hours a week, and it's really hard for me to do what I need, like the research to make a video, get the video out, do all that, and do the hours I need to work. Especially now that I'm in Legendary Arena, it's a lot harder for me to test out new decks without dropping down below Legendary Arena. So that's my reasoning, that's my excuse. I'm going to try and put them out more often. I suck, I know, bear with me. We'll make this thing awesome. Anyways, shout out to Brandon, random dude at the Panda Express, saw me opening up the game, subscribed, at least he said he did. Saw him pull out his phone, whatever. That was kind of cool. But anyways, this deck today is going to be all about making your own deck. If you look at the top right there, right here, right at Mr. Prince, Ned, when you get a minute, mind giving me some pointers, trying to use my new guys, but can't find the right setup. Got Dark Prince and Cannon Giant. Alright, so a lot of people in my clan ask me that. We're going to donate some archers to this guy just because we can. And we're going to just kind of go over, we're not going to give him a specific deck, actually, but we are going to kind of try and show him how to make a deck. One of the things I do, I have 3 viable decks. This one here is actually the one that kind of always pulls me out and above when I kind of get bogged down and back in Arena 7. Got the Prince, Dark Prince, Valkyrie, Arrows, Hog, Spear Goblins, Fireball, and the Elixir Collector. My highest level epic is this Prince. My highest level common is actually the Spear Goblin. I got a few level 10s as well. I got the Bomber, the Barbarians, Minion Horde. So, I got some pretty high level cards, but all my highest level are pretty much in here. All my other epics are level 4, and all my rares are level 7. So, that's kind of where I sit. That's pretty good. So, one of the things you need to recognize when you're making a deck is, one, especially if you're trying to use new cards, what they're good at and what their weaknesses are. So, for instance, on this deck here, this is a very offensive deck. I have the Prince and the Dark Prince and the Hog. These guys both, the Prince and the Dark Prince, both have the charge effect. The Prince has a really high point damage, while the Dark Prince has a really high area of effect damage. So, the Dark Prince I might play against, say, a horde of barbarians, whereas the Prince I might play against a P.E.K.K.A., a mini P.E.K.K.A., giant, something along those lines. The Hog, well, that's just, of course, just to knock and whack away at towers. This is a great little backup. Arrows defensive, Fireball defensive, and the Valkyrie, just kind of helps supplement the AoE damage of the Dark Prince. And, well, the Elixir Collector, that's kind of self-explanatory. So, the way I play this deck, and you have to think about this whenever you make a deck, is first off, you want to make sure that you're using higher level cards. So let's say they came out with new cards like they just recently did. They came out with, like this guy, right? The Fire Spirits. That's level 10. That's as high or higher than all my other commons. So I would be more than happy to use it. The Furnace, level 7. That's where all my other rares are. I'd be perfectly happy to use that rare as well. And I know they came out with another epic. Oh, the Guard. The Guard. Where is the Guard? I don't see the Guard. I think that's further down. Yes, the Guard. That's level 4, and that's pretty much on par with all my other epics. So I'm more than happy to use the Guards as well. So let's say they came out with some new ones, and my epic was only level 1. I wouldn't want to use that unless it was a total game changer, because all my other epics are going to have a lot more of an effect because of their level. So if you think about it, each card and its level is approximately rated. So a level 4 Giant Skeleton should be about the same as, say, a level 4 Balloon or a level 4 Lightning Spell. the effectiveness of that card should be about the same. So there may not be much of a difference, say, between a level 4 P.E.K.K.A. and a level 5 Dark Prince, which I have that level 5 Dark Prince up here, and a level 4 P.E.K.K.A. You know, there's not much of a difference there. It's one difference. 2 to 3 levels on something like that, that's a much different thing. So just be careful on levels. Now, that being said, you don't necessarily just want to use the best cards you have, because they may not work well together. However, you might be able to find a way to make them work well as well. So this one, I kind of used a lot of my highest level cards. Not all of them, but a lot of them. I did it to try and keep my elixir costs down and just be a general, combative card or combative deck. This deck is not my best deck, but it has a lot of my higher level cards. It's got my Dark Prince, it's got my Spear Goblins, and it's got my Minion Horde. So I think I could tweak this a little bit and make it a slightly better deck. Maybe add Princess in there or something like that. But those are the kind of things you want to think about. Now, on this one right here, this deck does pretty well against a lot of different decks. It does poorly against decks with a lot of buildings, because my hogs get really distracted by that, or decks with the P.E.K.K.A. For some reason, I always have difficulty against the P.E.K.K.A., and this doesn't really have a whole lot of effect against it. But it is what it is. So every deck also has its weaknesses, and that's something you need to realize. So if a certain card is very, very prevalent in your arena and where you're playing, you want to avoid that card if it's being targeted a lot. Or if there's a lot of, let's say there's a lot of Inferno Towers where you are. You don't want to play a lot of tanks, because that Inferno Tower will just rip it. If there's a lot of bombers, like the little bomber towers, you don't want to play a lot of little itty-bitty ground troops, because that bomber tower will just wreck it because of that AoE damage. So those are just things that you need to think about when you're making your deck. What am I playing a lot? What am I seeing being played against me a lot? And how can I counter those things? And how can I not fall into my opponent's hands when I'm seeing a lot of this, or that? So I know that may be kind of, not telling you a whole lot, but when you take these factors into mind, it can help you make really good decks. So all 3 of my decks are actually very viable decks. I played at work today and I lost several games in a row. I should know better than to play at work anymore. Ever since I hit Arena 7, I just always lose when I'm at work. So I'm going to show you here. I won 2 games with my 3rd deck using the Prince, Dark Prince, Valkyrie, and Hog. And then I won 2 games in a row using that 2nd deck with that giant skeleton. And then I won two more games using my 1st deck with the Lava Hound. So all of my decks are viable in my area of play. Each of them has their weakness, but each of them also has their strength. And I like to have multiple viable decks because it allows me to not get stuck in a rut as much. So here are some things you want to think about. If you get a new card, for instance, Prince, the new card he got was the Dark Prince. What you want to do is look at the Dark Prince and say, what are his strengths? His strengths, he's got that charge effect, he's got the shield. What's cool about the shield? He can take an insane amount of damage at a short time, and all it does is kill the shield. It doesn't do any damage to his actual health. Wonderful, I like that. So he's a good meat shield for, say, defending against the Prince, or something along those lines, or a fireball, or a lightning spell, or whatever the case may be. And you want to play into his strengths, and not his weaknesses. And then you want to build the rest of your deck in order to compensate for his weaknesses. So this deck here, this is my main attack method, the Lava Hound with a balloon behind it. These cards here merely back up the Lava Hound and the balloon, because they're going to be dropping their Minion Horde, they're going to be dropping the Wizard, they're going to be dropping a Musketeer, anything like that to kill the Lava Hound and the balloon. So these guys are all there to protect my main attack method and also protect my towers. So you always need the attack and the defense. Now, what I've got going on here with the Lava Hound and the balloon, not always the best thing, because now I have a certain attack, which is not good. So you always want to have an alternate attack as well. So, for instance, the minion horde and the princess. Arrows are a very, very common card. Arrows destroy both the princess and the minion horde. So one thing I might do, if the princess goes on one side of the tower, or one side of the map, I will drop my minion horde on the other side, and then try and rage them. That will decimate a tower, forcing them to do a ton of things to defend, both against the princess and the minion horde, while not allowing them to use a single arrow spell to defeat both of them. So these are the kinds of things that you need to think about, is how to protect your troops while still being a threat. Because you don't want to just protect them and then, well, if you protect your troops properly, they'll do a ton of damage to the tower, right? So that's what you want. So each thing kind of has its own thing, or its own what works well. So I can get, this guy, I can drop a balloon and then drop the minion horde behind it to help protect, along with the spear goblin, and I can rage them all, and I don't even need to use the lava hound on my attack. So each deck should have multiple ways of doing damage to a tower while also defending yourself. I don't have to just go lava hound balloon, but it's a really effective method. So if I'm able to use the elixir and do it, then I'm going to do it. Once this guy dies, drop the rage, especially if the minion horde's behind it, and I've essentially won the game. It's fantastic. The second deck, the giant skeleton, great defending troop. It dies, it blows everything up. We're happy. And it's also a very effective tank. And this one, the whole point is to just get the giant skeleton or the minion horde, the spear goblins little by little, or the dark prince to the tower and let them hack away using, all of them for defense. So the point of this one is to let them attack, defend, gain that elixir advantage, and then push. Hopefully by then they're out of elixir and they can't defend properly. Get this guy to the tower, and he does nearly 1,000 damage to the tower. And I'm happy. So, and again, this one I made pretty much strictly just to use the best cards I have in my arsenal. And then I had to tweak it a little bit by putting this guy and this guy in, just because I needed some different cards. The deck didn't really work, so I had to tweak it a little bit. Although I may add the princess now that I'm looking at it, because the princess and the minion horde is a good combination, just because they can't always have the arrows available. The third one is one I've used forever, and I really like it. It just attacks, and if I can get them to the tower, it rips through towers, does a great job, has a pretty good defensive capabilities as well. So you want to be able to defend, and you need to be able to know what you're playing and how to defend against it. Because if you don't do that, then you're just playing right into your opponent's hands. So, again, I don't know if this video is going to really help you, but those are some important things to think about when you're making a deck. Again, first, you want the cards to be some of the higher levels in your arsenal. They don't all have to be the highest, but they need to be higher. They can't be multiple levels below everything else. 2, figure out what each card is good at and what each card's weakness is. Every card is good at something, every card's weak to something. Figure out what that is. If you don't know, ask the guys in your clan that have the card. Be proactive, ask, read, watch YouTube videos, whatever. 3, have a deck that can competently defend a majority of the types of attacks that you see in Clash Royale at your arena. As you go up arenas, it will change slightly, so you will need different decks, especially as you see more cards being unlocked. But figure out what those threats are and be able to competently defend against them. 4, be able to attack in a way that isn't consistently defended against. At my level, every card is typically available, so it's always hard to decide what's being used. But let's say you're in Arena 3 or 4, and you're seeing a lot of bomber towers. So don't use a lot of little ground troops. That's not going to be very effective. Try using baby dragon. Try using tanks. Things like that. That's what you're going to be wanting. 5, try and come up with a combination of troops where the defenses that they're going to use is not going to just wreck you. Now, you're always going to come up with someone who's going to have the perfect defense against your hand. That is what it is. However, come up with one that's not going to be dealt with easily on a regular basis. So those are kind of my tips, my tricks. If you have any questions, Prince, hopefully you see this, let me know. I'll make more specific videos about the specific ones you asked me about later. But let me know what you guys think about this. Any thoughts, anything along those lines. More videos will be coming out. Like it, comment, let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching, and y'all have a wonderful day. Thank you very much.